Masataka Yoshida has had a really solid month or so for the Boston Red Sox, but his trip to Baltimore was super historic in many different ways.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I am here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox, Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed. And the best part is that it is completely free. So you really might as well just check it out because you have nothing to lose, as Locked On is always here for you, and I am always here for you. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Welcome to the show where my emotions get really into it. Whether the Red Sox win or lose determines my mood. Unfortunately, if that sounds like you, this is the show for you. If you are an everydayer here, thank you for always tuning in. I know you definitely can relate to those emotions. So if you're new here, welcome. And this Red Sox team has definitely had a rough go this year in terms of issues with injuries and just missing players for extended periods of time. One of those players was Kristian Campbell, who is now back in the Red Sox lineup and certainly is somebody who's going to hopefully continue to make a big impact from an offensive standpoint. But it's tough in this business because Dom Smith was somebody who Red Sox fans really grew to love during his time in Boston. He really gave 100% every single day, and he signed with the Red Sox knowing that the day would come that Kristian Campbell would come back. It was never supposed to be a permanent situation with Dom Smith. He was really only going to be the temporary solution at first base until Campbell was back to being healthy. So sure enough, he was DFA'd before Casas was brought into the Red Sox lineup, and it was certainly upsetting, but also not surprising. So definitely some mixed emotions, but Dom made some really nice plays defensively. He really helped contribute with the bat, and he just served as a positive leader in that clubhouse, somebody who always just took every day with a sense of positivity and just wanting to go out there and do what he could to help this Red Sox team win. So I'll always appreciate what Dom Smith did for this team in the short amount of time he was here. I think he became a fan favorite during that time, and it's just really unfortunate that things had to happen the way that they did, but it is part of the business, and Kristian Campbell is the future at first base, so he is the guy that, moving forward, the Red Sox are going to rely on to be the everyday first baseman. And additionally, in terms of injuries, obviously James Paxton went down recently with what could very well be a season-ending injury, unfortunately, which is pretty heartbreaking for sure. And for a team that is hanging on by a thread with its pitching staff, that was the last thing that they needed, was for James Paxton to get injured with a right calf issue. So in order to try to help solve the problem, they did sign pitcher Rich Hill to a minor league deal, a very familiar face. He's the pride of Milton, Mass, 44 years old, and he had taken a sabbatical leave from pitching. He turned down 3 major league offers last winter so that he could coach his son Bryce's final Little League season. So he was really prioritizing that over pitching in the majors, which I think is super cool, family first always. And he did always plan on returning to the mound. This was only supposed to be a temporary leave for him. But now that the Red Sox did have this injury to James Paxton, it almost felt like fate that Rich Hill was ready to come back to the league, and the Red Sox were the team that needed him for this stretch run that hopefully leads them to the playoffs. For now, he's throwing in AAA, but it likely should just be a temporary stop. I don't think it'll be too long before he ends up being called up to the majors, because I think the Red Sox signed him with the intention of having him pitch on the major league team for them, because they need it with all these pitching injuries. And he's really excited to be in Boston. He said this is a special place. Boston's one of the best places to play in the league, if not the best, just because of the ballpark. But it's really what the fans bring to the game, because you get that immediate feedback. When you get to play at the highest level, that's what you want. You want to get that feedback. I think it'll be great to have him back in terms of a leadership standpoint, just a glue among that pitching staff that can also just help this Red Sox team to stay afloat for the rest of this tough stretch of games that they're in right now. He got down to business on Sunday, reporting to the Woo Sox and throwing a bullpen session. He will accompany the Woo Sox on the road in Norfolk, Virginia, and throw live batting practice today. And then by the end of the week, he expects to pitch his first minor league game. It is ultimately up to the Red Sox when or if to call him up, but he doesn't think he would need more than 2 minor league tune-ups to be ready to be called up. So it's definitely really interesting, but not super surprising that the Red Sox made this move. He did start throwing off the mound nearly 4 months ago in anticipation of his return, so it's not like he's been completely removed from baseball, and he was working out almost daily with his strength and conditioning coach, who doubled as his catcher. And he's been under the frequent watch of former Red Sox physical therapist Mike Reynolds at Champion Physical Therapy Performance in Waltham. He's been working at least 5 to 6 days a week with him and working on strength and stability with a shoulder program. So he definitely won't need much to get back in shape, but he can kind of come in any role. He can start, he can relieve, he can open, he can come in high leverage situations. But first things first, the Red Sox just want to get him back on the mound and back to competing, and then they'll go from there. But he's happy to be where he's at. He knows the Red Sox are on the brink of a postseason run. So he's ready to go. In recent throwing sessions, he's gotten up to 89 miles an hour, and he is prepped and thinking about the ability to be creative with the baseball and understand that pitching isn't about overpowering the hitter, but about messing up his timing. So really utilizing those off-speed pitches to be able to fool opposing hitters. So I think it'll be good having Rich Hill back. I for sure think that, he'll be a good piece, and it'll be interesting to see how quickly the Red Sox do decide to bring him back up. But in terms of this playoff run and the Red Sox really focusing on trying to be one of those teams that can be in the playoffs, Masataka Yoshida has had a really solid last month or so for this Red Sox team, and he hit very well in the series against the Orioles over the weekend. In the first game of the series, he went 1 for 3. In the second game, he went 3 for 4, recording 4 RBIs in that game. He did hit a home run too. That was a big night for him. It was a game where the Red Sox absolutely powered on the offense and just kept destroying opposing pitchers that the Orioles threw out there. So big night for him then. And then the third game of the series, he went 1 for 1, and he also took a walk, and then went 2 for 3 in the series finale. So he just hits very well in Baltimore. He loves hitting at Camden Yards, and it's been great to see him really be able to step up again, because the Red Sox absolutely need that. He's actually been one of the best hitters at Camden Yards in MLB history. He just has always put up really competitive numbers against Baltimore, even though it's a limited sample size on the road, in particular with them. Of batters with a minimum of 30 plate appearances against Baltimore on the road, Yoshida ranks first in batting average with a .577, first in on-base percentage with a .588, 7th in slugging with a 793, and 1st in OPS with a 1.381. So just think of all the incredible hitters who have played this game. The fact that Yoshida is among the best in this specific instance is pretty incredible, especially considering how down a lot of people seem to be on him throughout the offseason and into the start of this year. I mean, myself included, he was not having a good start to the season at all, but he really has turned things around a lot in this second half. He's been on fire over this last month or so, and he's helping the team win games in just very important situations. And that's a much needed series split that the Red Sox got against the Orioles over the weekend. And Yoshida was a big part of the offense. And it's important to note that he just went off and just had a big series. And it was really fun to watch. And I'm hoping he continues to be dominant and continues to be one of the heart of the Red Sox offense right now, because he is contributing in so many different ways. And the turnaround for him from the first half to the second half this year has been pretty remarkable to see. He's making a lot of hard contact, and he's no longer as much of a ground ball merchant. He's really coming in clutch when the Red Sox need him to be. So that series against the Orioles on the road in particular was a big series for him. He continues to just destroy the Orioles on the road. For whatever reason, he's very comfortable at Camden Yards, and it's pretty incredible to see those stats that he puts up at that place in particular. So looking forward to seeing a lot more from him. He's a lot more confident now at the plate than he was in the first half of the season, and I've just really enjoyed seeing the way he's been able to turn things around as of late. So hopefully moving forward, as the Red Sox look to make this playoff push, they have Yoshida to be able to rely on to go the distance and be able to be a guy who really goes off and competes and is able to help this team to score runs, because that's what they do best, is their offense and scoring runs. Having him be a huge part of that would be fantastic. And coming up, I'm going to be talking about another addition that the Red Sox are closer and closer by the day to making, so you definitely will not want to miss that. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Well, we have something a little different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel any time. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to download America's #1 sportsbook. We all love baseball, I would hope, if you're listening to this show, but I feel like a lot of us also love football too, and utilizing our Sundays to watch games. So definitely take advantage of this huge opportunity so that you can watch as many games as you want during the regular season when it kicks off in the beginning of September, which is right around the corner now at this point. Thank you for making Locked On Red Sox your first listen today. For your second listen, enjoy the Locked On MLB podcast with Paul Sullivan, aka Sully, as he is here to provide national expertise with his trademark humor to help you get ready for the MLB playoffs here in the dog days of summer. Prepare for the Fall Classic with Sully, who has it all covered every single day on Locked On MLB, available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You won't be disappointed in Sully. He is so funny, high energy. So make sure you check out his show next. For a Boston Red Sox team that has dealt with a lot this year, and we've talked a ton about the injuries and how they've really affected this team, especially the pitching staff so far this season, one of those pitchers that it has affected is Liam Hendrik, who has been recovering from Tommy John surgery and hasn't been able to pitch yet at all this year. The Red Sox acquired him knowing that he was still very much in his recovery process, and he's just been through lots of hurdles over the last few years, but he's ready to come back and compete and contribute to this Red Sox team. And he's just such an easy person to root for with his positive attitude that he always brings to the table, his ability to show leadership and just make a better environment wherever he goes. So it's hard to root against a guy like Liam Hendrik, and his return has been very highly anticipated for Boston because as a Red Sox fan and watching the way this bullpen has struggled a lot lately, there are only 3 guys in the bullpen right now that I fully trust, and that is Kenley Jansen, Chris Martin, and Lucas Sims. And I would throw Justin Slayton into that category if he was healthy, but since he's injured, I'm just going to leave him out of the conversation right now for the point of who's available that they can use game to game. Those are the 3 solid bullpen arms that I've liked a lot of that I've seen from them. Other guys in this bullpen have struggled, like Luis Garcia, who the Red Sox just traded for and has been seriously struggling as of late. Zach Kelly's been struggling. Josh Winkowski has been struggling. So there aren't many guys in this pen that we can consistently be excited to watch pitch and rely on to be able to give the Red Sox what they need out of their outings. And people have been anticipating the return of Liam Hendriks because they feel like he's somebody who can give us that, who can go out there and eat innings out of the pen and be somebody who is able to really give 100% and be a fantastic addition to this bullpen. And he is making his way back. He pitched 1 inning for AAA Worcester on Sunday, and it ended up being a fly out to center, a soft ground out fielded by the catcher, and then a ground out to shortstop. He only threw 11 pitches and 9 of them were strikes, and he hit 95 miles an hour, which is super promising for him. That was his first appearance since Tommy John surgery last August, and he's shooting for 6 to 8 rehab appearances before he comes back up to the majors. Some people are anxious and really want him back right now. If he ends up being effective, I could see the 6 to 8 rehab assignments being bumped down a little bit. Maybe they decide to have him throw 3 to 4 if it makes more sense because they feel like he's back on track and ready to come back up to the majors. Then maybe they decrease that, but you definitely don't want to rush him back because Tommy John is definitely something that you don't want to mess around with. You want to take it seriously. You want to make sure he's 100% before he comes back up, especially because the Red Sox really need him to come and relieve games and be super effective. They cannot have him come up and not be able to pitch well because that's going to be a problem for a bullpen that's already been a problem as of late. Like, they want to nail this on the head. When he comes back up, they want to look at him as one of the most reliable relievers that this bullpen has. And in order for them to be able to do that, he definitely needs to take his time rehabbing and be able to get those opportunities down in Worcester done so that he can make the judgment call on when he's ready to come back up. And Hendriks has experience. He's a veteran. He's been through this before in terms of seeing the ups and downs of injuries and guys missing some time and then coming back. So for him, I trust that he knows himself, and I don't think he would just say, I'm ready to go for the sake of coming back. I think he will be really honest and truthful about where he actually stands in terms of his ability to feel like he can go from pitching in AAA to coming back up to the majors. And when he makes his first appearance with the Boston Red Sox this season, I feel like it's going to be a very warm welcome that he's going to get. If it's a game at Fenway, I hope people give him a standing ovation for his desire and ability to come back, and that he just gets a super warm welcome from the Fenway faithful. If it's on the road, I hope that the Red Sox fans that are there make the effort to give that same kind of ovation, maybe even in smaller numbers. But he definitely deserves it. I mean, the guy has been through so much over the last few years in his career, and he, health-wise, once he comes back, is ready to just come out here and contribute to helping this team to make a playoff push. And that was one of the things he said in one of his first interviews that he had here in a Boston Red Sox uniform when he got here was, I can't wait to do my part to help this team make a postseason push. And he definitely is in the mindset now of, I want to come back badly, and I'm going to do what it takes to be able to come back and be effective this year. Because for a while, there was some uncertainties as to whether he could even come back this season. Was he going to have to miss the entirety of the season so that he could focus on his recovery and focus on being able to get back to where he needs to be in order to contribute out of the Red Sox pen? So there was a period of time where I was not really holding out hope that he would come back this year because I just kind of expected that that wouldn't be the case. But now that he's in his rehab assignments, I have no doubts that he'll be able to make an appearance in September for this Boston Red Sox team. And I'm excited to see where that takes him because he could end up being that key piece out of the bullpen that the Red Sox need to help push them over that hump and secure a playoff spot. Because for example, I mean, going into Baltimore and scoring 12 runs, you really should be able to win that game easily. But Baltimore scored 10 runs in that same game. So, yes, the Red Sox still won, but it's very much a concern that the Red Sox offense can go and put up a bunch of runs every night, but they can't always rely on this bullpen to back them up and hold the other team because it just puts so much more pressure on the offense. And the reality at the end of the day is that they're not going to be able to score that many runs every single night. There are going to be nights where the offense doesn't have it. They're not stringing together lots of offense, or they're facing a very competitive starting pitcher and they just can't figure him out. So you need your pitching staff to be reliable, especially on days like that. And Liam Hendriks is somebody who I feel like could come in, be able to eat innings for this Boston Red Sox bullpen and be able to help everybody get back on track and almost give a new outlook as to what this bullpen looks like and what its potential is moving forward. So I'm definitely excited to see his return. I'm excited to follow along as he continues his rehab starts, and hopefully he's able to come out here and be a big piece of this Red Sox bullpen soon, because I think Alex Cora and everybody is excited to have him. I know fans are anxiously awaiting having him back, and the fact that he looked as good as he did in that first rehab stint is very promising moving forward. Coming up, though, the big three has become the big four in Worcester, so I'm going to tell you more about that next. If you're looking for a fun way to play daily fantasy sports, head to PrizePicks today. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Get in on the daily action with your friends and become part of the PrizePicks community today. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000 legitimately. Preseason football is underway, but you can also pick more or less on 2024 season stats on PrizePicks. Will Patrick Mahomes throw for more or less than 4,300 yards? Will CJ Stroud's sophomore season result in more or less than 4,150 yards? Enter your season picks before week 1 kicks off. Just download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB, all lowercase, for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB, all lowercase, on PrizePicks for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks, run your game. Doesn't it sound like such a great time? I mean, you could get addicted, so I am just warning you about that, but you can make lots of money in the process, so definitely could be worth it. So make sure that you check it out today. The Boston Red Sox did have exciting news in terms of Liam Hendriks having a really good first outing back from Tommy John surgery on his rehab stint, and they are awaiting his return to the major league roster. But something else exciting happened down in Worcester. Now, I did have a Worcester Red Sox reporter from Mass Live on the show last week, Katie Morrison O'Day, who covers the team daily, and she was talking about the debuts in Worcester of Roman Anthony and Kyle Teel. Marcelo Meyer hadn't had his debut with the Woo Sox yet, but she talked about the debuts of the other two, and it was really insightful to hear her say that the Worcester Red Sox are very exciting to watch right now, and it honestly is such a stacked roster. It might even be the most exciting team in the system to watch right now, and it just got even more exciting as prospect Kristian Campbell was promoted to AAA Worcester. He has been dubbed Barry Bonds by some of his teammates and gotten that comparison, which is absolutely insane. He batted .362 over 56 games with AA Portland. So the big three of Kyle Teel, Roman Anthony, and Marcelo Meyer is now turning into the big four. Less than a week after the Red Sox called up those guys is when they brought up Campbell, their top breakout prospect. It's a fitting result for him after he teed off against pitching in AA Portland and just absolutely killed it. Roman Anthony's the one who said we call him Barry Bonds just because of good of a hitter he is. He's a great player. He's a freak athlete. He could really start to get more of those comparisons if he continues to hit as well as he is. He just really has been talked about as playing the game the right way and that he's a great person on and off the field. And it's rare that you can get a guy like that who can play so many different premium positions and play at the level that he plays at while putting up the numbers that he has put up. The Red Sox drafted Campbell out of Georgia Tech in the 4th round of the 2023 first-year player draft, and he's gone from an intriguing light-hitting prospect to an absolute force at the plate. MLB Pipeline's latest list of the top 100 prospects in baseball has Campbell ranked 80th overall, while ESPN's latest prospect list tabbed him as the 54th ranked prospect in the game today. After slashing .306 with a .418 batting average and .558 slugging with 13 doubles, 8 home runs, and 25 RBIs over 40 games in Greenville, he earned a promotion to Portland on June 4th, where he also didn't spend that much time. Over 56 games with them, he batted .362 with 8 home runs, 28 total extra base hits, and 35 RBIs, walking 35 times and striking out 38 times, over 255 total plate appearances. Talk about an absolutely stacked roster in Worcester, adding him in. He has so many things that he does well at the plate: good discipline, good power, good ability to utilize all parts of the field, hit it to the opposite field. He just is a very intriguing hitter to watch. While the Red Sox aren't expecting him or any of their top prospects to break through and contribute at the big league level this season, it's a good sign for next year that several of these youngsters are on the cusp of a call-up to Fenway Park next year at some point. I really do feel like there's a chance we see Campbell and Teel possibly next year, maybe a little bit longer for Roman Anthony, Marcelo Meyer. It depends on the circumstances and where they're at with the roster because the outfield situation is stacked. So Roman Anthony, they might want to give a little bit more time to as well. And Marcelo Meyer, with the injuries he's faced, I wonder if they kind of keep him back a little bit for a temporary period of time. But I think there's a good chance we do possibly see Campbell and maybe Teel up next year. And the thing with Kristian Campbell is he came in and it was a new style of hitting for what he came from at Georgia Tech, but he was willing to learn new things and new hitting strategy, and he grinded all off season is another thing Roman Anthony said. He was there every day in Florida, every day at spring training, and he's just constantly grinding. And that's the type of kid who will find success at the big league level, is one who is just constantly working to get himself better. And he's just really excited about the opportunity to be playing in Worcester alongside some of his good friends that he's made in that big three that people like to call these prospects in Boston. He was 22 years old when the Red Sox drafted him as a shortstop and center fielder. And he just continued to kill it ever since. Found it to be a natural transition from high A Greenville to AA Portland, and then now the transition to AAA. And what's really telling is how quick it's going with all of this. Like, this process has not taken that long for him to go from level to level. So it goes to show that he hasn't really experienced growing pains yet when he goes up to the next level, and that he's just been able to get up there and ease into it seemingly seamlessly. And it's been fun to watch him and hear about the way he's making adjustments. The turning point for him might have been swing adjustments he made once joining the Red Sox organization, but whatever he's been doing is definitely working. And it's exciting that he's gotten that nickname of Barry Bonds, because that's definitely not a nickname that anybody would just throw out there. I mean, we're talking about the best hitter to ever play the game, and he's being compared to him. So I'm interested in seeing how he does in Worcester. Lots of talent and lots of competition up there, but the Red Sox see a lot in him. He's been able to really make his mark as a player who can contribute in multiple capacities once he gets up in the major leagues. So it's very exciting that Worcester roster just continues to get better and better. Lots of the big named prospects who are getting a lot of hype within this Red Sox organization right now are at that level. So Campbell being able to be a part of that party is so well deserved. He's earned the promotion. He just continues to impress in multiple capacities in his game, especially at the plate. And that's definitely a talent that the Red Sox will be looking for down the road. So as the big league team looks to try to make a playoff push here, and they get guys back who they feel can contribute to that playoff push, they also have that AAA team that's just going to be lighting it up with guys who are so highly anticipated, and the future of the Boston Red Sox looks very bright. I mean, imagine 2026 when likely all of those guys are up in the majors and they've gotten more experience under their belt. I mean, that could be a very fun, very dangerous team in 2026, and maybe even a little bit of 2025 if some of them do get exposure to being in the big leagues next season. But they do absolutely need to fix the pitching staff too if they want that to happen, and they want to feel like they have the right combination of guys there to help them win a championship. So no excuse not to be super aggressive from a pitching standpoint this offseason and get some big arms in there to help improve this bullpen and even the starting rotation, because definitely want players like that if they really want to be put over the top in terms of contention. So lots of exciting things going on right now. The Red Sox need to grind through this stretch. The Royals, who they are chasing in the wild card race, have a really tough schedule coming up in about a week. So if the Red Sox can grind through the next week or so, they'll be in good shape to be able to be in a spot to get a wild card. So definitely need to just push through this schedule and grind. And if they can just continue to win games and win series, that's going to be the key. So as always, keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I will catch you on the flip side.